Have you ever heard a politician say he wants to take a pay cut and have the government he runs do less? Meet such a candidate, Congressman Ron Paul. What should government do?
Protect our freedoms, have a strong national defense, look and take care of our borders, have a sound currency. So we want to have a protection of the general welfare, the general environment of free markets and ability to trade with each other and travel among the states. That was the responsibility of the federal government, not to run our lives and run everything in the economy and extend, the Interstate Commerce Clause and the General Welfare Clause to do anything they want to do. That is what has happened.
So keep the peace. So defense, the military,
right.
Police forces, enforce contracts, and that's about it?
That's it. We would have a court system to enforce contracts, and when people do harm to others, when they do harm, taking property or injuring somebody, or polluting a neighbor's air, I think there's a role for government to protect our environment through private property rights. I mean, I think that, if we live on a river, I happen to have a house on a river, I don't want somebody upstream dumping their pollution in that river, and I should have a right of recourse. And
so keep us safe, enforce contracts, run the courts, pollution rules, and otherwise butt out, leave us alone?
Basically that, which would be meaning if we get back to that, and I'm elected, I should immediately take a pay cut, because I wouldn't have so much to do.
So you want to get rid of a lot of the government. This is Department of Education, one of the big, beautiful buildings in Washington. You get rid of it? We don't need this?
Yes, just think what kind of businessman might be able to make good use of that piece of property.
But
no,
how
we
do
don't
people
need
get
it.
educated?
We might get better education. The evidence shows since the 1950s, since the federal government's gotten involved, the quality of education has gone down and the cost has gone up. So
federal government should have no role?
There's no authority for it, and they've proved themselves inefficient. The one city they're totally in charge of is Washington, D.C., $13,000 a year per student. They have more guns, more drugs, more violence. A bad educational system. So there's no evidence that the government can do a very good job.
Department of Energy.
No, we don't need a Department of Energy.
How will we get energy?
The market will do it. Supply and
This is
demand.
just unnecessary?
There's no need. That serves the interest of big business. So if government needs an energy policy, what they're saying is, how do we take taxpayers' money and put the money in R&D, and which big company is going to get the largesse from the government? That's the kind of thing that encourages.
What's wrong with that? The wise elites in Washington will pick the best investment.
Well, it might end up that the subsidies might go to producing ethanol from corn, and it might turn out
it is going there.
It might turn out it wasn't the best investment. Maybe it cost too much to make the ethanol, but somebody made some profits off it.
Other cabinet departments: Department of Agriculture, Commerce, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development. You'd get rid of all of them?
Yeah, of course, that's not on the immediate agenda, but in theory, they're unnecessary, and we should think about what kind of a country we would have without these departments. And I think we would have a better country, and all those problems that they're supposed to solve, I think, would be lessened.
Commerce Department? We don't need the Commerce Department to have commerce?
No, absolutely not.
Homeland Security, isn't that a role for the federal government?
Not really, not the way that's designed. That's the biggest bureaucracy of them all. There's some parts of that department that are okay. They put the Coast Guard in there, and they put FEMA in there, and everybody's bunched together. No, Homeland Security, how's it been taken care of for all these years? Pretty well. And I think it was failure of government on 9/11, not the fact that we didn't have the Department of Homeland Security, and we didn't have a national ID card, and we didn't have this constant surveillance and loss of our privacy. That's
failure of government how?
We spent $40 billion on intelligence gathering and didn't prevent it from happening. But the government was in charge of the airlines, FAA. They were supposed to inspect the people as they went on. You weren't supposed to resist any hostage takeovers, and they weren't allowed to have a gun. Maybe if you and I had the airlines, we might have said, hey, we want to protect our passengers. Maybe we should have a stronger door on there. Maybe we ought to give our pilots a gun. So it wouldn't have happened. 9/11 wouldn't have happened.
So government creates the wrong rules, too many rules and the wrong ones?
That's basically it, and most of the time, well-intentioned, but good intentions will not solve our problems.
You anger libertarians when you vote against NAFTA, GATT, CAFTA trade agreements. You're too much of a idealistic candidate, they say. I mean, these agreements make trade more possible, so what if they're hundreds of pages?
No, I don't think it always does. It's more government, and it serves special interests. We go to the WTO more to get retaliation against those who we think are cheating than we go to get lower tariffs. The lower tariffs part, you could do it without more government, so I'm all for the lower tariffs. But you know, everybody's idealistic. Some people are more idealistic in depending on international government. I'm idealistic and thinking that these problems can be solved with a lot less government.